warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. Thank you so much for joining us this half hour on The World Today. I'm Anne Nwawado. Here's what's coming up on the program. Germany accuses Russia of cyber attack on air traffic control and attempted electoral interference. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte accuses the United States of wanting to end NATO expansionism. Plus, U.S. President Donald Trump signs executive order blocking states from enforcing their own artificial intelligence regulation. Let's begin The World Today. Once again, welcome to the program. The German government has accused Russia of a cyber attack on air traffic control and attempted electoral interference and summoned the Russian ambassador. While the foreign ministry spokesperson says that Russia's Ministry of Intelligence was behind a cyber attack against German air traffic control in August 2024. The spokesman also accused Russia of seeking to influence and destabilize the country's federal election in February this year. He says that Germany, in close coordination with its European partners, will respond with countermeasures to make Russia pay a price for its hybrid actions. There has been no response from Russia. And NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says that Russia could attack a NATO country within 5 years. He was saying this during a speech in Germany, where he also warned that Russia is already escalating its coverts campaign against NATO societies. Well, he also echoed similar statements about Russia's intentions made by Western intelligence agencies, with Moscow dismissing as hysteria. And Mr. Rutte also warns that as U.S. President Trump tries to bring an end to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, which was launched in February 2022, and earlier this month, Russia's President Vladimir Putin said that his country was not planning to go to war with Europe, but it was ready right now if Europe wanted to or started a war. But similar reassurances were given by Moscow in 2022, just before the 200,000 Russian troops crossed the border and invaded Ukraine. Meanwhile, Mr. Rutte also took on a questioning NATO on expansionism, saying that his main focus is to make sure that the alliance as a whole is safe. But he did not admit that years of underspending by Europe was a very big irritant on the US side. Russia has repeatedly cited NATO's expansionism as one of the key underlying causes leading to the current Ukraine conflict, while the alliance has always maintained that it is purely defensive in nature.
As NATO Secretary General, of course, my main focus is to make sure that the alliance as a whole is safe. When I, through that lens, look at the NSS, it clearly states that the US is committed to Europe, to keep Europe safe. The US is committed to NATO, and it also acknowledges that for the whole of the alliance to stay safe, you need a strong cooperation within NATO between the European allies and Canada and the United States. And indeed, as the Chancellor was saying, when you then take a look at the NATO summit in The Hague, it has been President Trump consistently, when he was Trump 45 and now Trump 47, pleading for European allies and Canada to do more. In The Hague we did. We decided collectively to go to this 5%, including the 3.5% on core defense spending, which equalizes the spending in Europe and Canada with what the US is spending. And this has been, since the 1950s, since Eisenhower, a big irritant on the US side. They have always been committed to NATO, but they also had the expectation that we would spend more, that we would at least spend the same as they are doing. Not only because we want all to spend the same, but because we have to do it to reach our capability targets, to make sure that we can fight the Russians if they would attack us. And of course, we also have the huge build-up in China. So you see Europe stepping up. And here again, Germany is taking the lead. The fact that Germany has decided to reach the 3.5% in 2029, 6 years before 2035, is huge. It is a staggering amount of money Germany will spend on its defense, but it is also a clear call to arms for all the others in Europe to do the same. And then when you look at Europe stepping up, we have seen Pearl, which is buying from the US defense base to deliver weapons into Ukraine. Again, Europe and Canada stepping up. We have seen it with the coalition of the willing under European leadership to make sure that when there is peace in Ukraine or a long-term ceasefire, that we can keep Ukraine safe going forward. And then more recently, when you take a look at the Baltics, what happened there with the cutting of undersea sea cables, when you take a look at the eastern border as a whole with the reckless airspace incursions from Russia. So Baltic Sentry and Eastern Sentry, the names of these two missions. Again, it is Europe, including Germany, delivering the bulk of the troops necessary there, be it air, land or sea. So I think we are stepping up, and this is what is seen in the US, and this is recognized, and this is exactly what President Trump asked for, and Europe is doing it.
Well, Europe is now finding itself squeezed between two superpowers, and under President Trump's leadership in the United States, the continent has seen its traditional partnership with its strongest ally weakened. In response, Europe is now strengthening its own military, including in space. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle, joins me now from Berlin. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Lars, what can you tell us about the continent's latest initiative?
Well, specifically looking at Helsing, we have a company that's pretty young, actually, founded only in 2021. But that's been moving fast in the military sector, showing impressive results in recent months. One of them is their HX-2 drone that's already been used in Ukraine and that has shown really good test results with 17 out of 17 tests successful, even under decidedly bad weather conditions. The company also works at sea, underwater to be more specific. And its SG Phantom underwater glider has just been introduced as a special vehicle to locate submarines and critical underwater infrastructure like pipelines and cables. Another recent product is a small fighter jet guided by an AI piloting system. So we are seeing cutting-edge technology here, and the company is obviously banking on not only Germany's own military investing heavily in such upgrades to their partially old weapons systems, but they certainly expect other NATO countries to buy those same systems as well. And as I said, a scenario that is all but certain in the current geopolitical environment.
But Lars, this is an expensive undertaking. Why is Europe doing this right now?
Well, clearly because we have learned the hard way that we can no longer rely on the United States as a partner. In the past, the U.S. was Europe's biggest military ally, but we've seen that the country under President Trump is not interested in keeping up this decades-old alliance. Instead, we've seen the U.S. arguing over whether NATO is even worth the effort, and we've seen the U.S. under Trump even sidelining NATO with regards to Russia's war in Ukraine, and siding not with Ukraine as the European countries are, but instead siding with Russia, the aggressor in that particular conflict, and from a European perspective, an enemy that is becoming a growing threat to the rest of the continent here. Now, in fact, just a few months ago, the U.S., in an effort to prove its role and its military might, actually withheld intelligence gathered in space from Ukraine and the Western partners, clearly a sign to Europe that we need our own infrastructure here just to be able to defend ourselves without depending on other powers. Also, when it comes to money and the cost of the operation, the 35 billion euros are said to be raised by the companies behind the effort. We don't know how much governments will contribute to this. However, Germany's defense secretary has recently said that he's planning multi-billion investments in space. And we also, of course, have a 500 billion euro investment package that the German government put together for the military. So a lot of money has been put aside for projects just like this one anyway.
Okay, Lars, but what do we know about the companies involved? What is their own experience?
Well, specifically looking at Helsing, we have a company that's pretty young, actually, founded only in 2021. But that's been moving fast in the military sector, showing impressive results in recent months. One of them is their HX-2 drone that's already been used in Ukraine and that has shown really good test results with 17 out of 17 tests successful, even under decidedly bad weather conditions. The company also works at sea, underwater to be more specific, and its SG Phantom underwater glider has just been introduced as a special vehicle to locate submarines and critical underwater infrastructure like pipelines and cables. Another recent product is a small fighter jet guided by an AI piloting system. So we are seeing cutting-edge technology here, and the company is obviously banking on not only Germany's own military investing heavily in such upgrades to their partially old weapon systems, but they certainly expect other NATO countries to buy those same systems as well. And as I said, a scenario that is all but certain in the current geopolitical environment.
Thank you very much, Alas Holter, for your time. To other stories now. The BBC has learned that the rescue operation to get Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel laureate Maria Corina Machado out of Venezuela involved disguises, 2 boats through choppy seas and a flight. And the man who says he led it, Brian Stern, told the BBC that the operation to get Machado out was dubbed Operation Golden Dynamite. He says the dangerous journey was cold, wet and long, but that the formidable Machado did not complain once. Stern is a U.S. Special Forces veteran and the founder of Grey Bull Rescue Foundation. Thankfully, nothing went wrong, and Machado arrived safely in Oslo in Norway to collect her Nobel Peace Prize just before midnight on Wednesday. She had been living in hiding in her own country since Venezuela's widely disputed elections last year and had not been seen in public since January this year. Her grown-up children, who she hadn't seen in 2 years, were also in Oslo to greet her. In other news, the U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at blocking states from enforcing their own artificial intelligence regulations. Mr. Trump says that it will give the administration tools to push back on the most generous state rules, but the White House AI advisor, David Sachs, says the government will not oppose AI regulations around children's safety. The move marks a win for technology giants who have called for U.S.-wide AI legislation, as it could have a major impact on America's goal of leading the fast-developing industry.
We have a big signing right now, and we have a tremendous industry where we're leading by a lot. It's the AI, artificial intelligence. I always thought it should be SI, supreme intelligence, but I guess somewhere along the line they decided on the word artificial, and that's okay with me. That's up to them. It's a massive industry. We're leading China. We're leading everybody by a tremendous amount. The electricity is being built by them in every plant. They're building the electricity. We're getting them rapid approvals. But they're spending trillions of dollars, and they can't, basically this has a couple of other things that are less important, but one of the things that it has is you have to have a central source of approval. When they need approvals on things, they have to come to one source. They can't go to California, New York, and various other places like Illinois with Pritzker, who's, a totally unreasonable person. And they have to have, they're putting all this money in. It's a big part of the economy. And there's only going to be, I think, one winner here. I don't know if anybody agrees with that. I think most people agree. But there's only going to be one winner here, and that's probably going to be the U.S. or China. And right now we're winning by a lot. China has a central source of approval. I don't think they have any approval. They just go and build. But people want to be in the United States, and they want to do it here. And we have the big investment coming. We're way ahead of what we ever thought we'd be, just from the infancy of AI. So really both, and we want to be very careful with it. We also know that a big part of our economy, it could be 50, 60% of our economy going forward for a period of time at least, especially during the startup, is AI and AI-based. We have trillions of dollars of construction going on, and that construction would stop, or it would certainly be, a lot of it would be halted. So look, we're leading China. We're leading China by a lot. China knows that. And not doing this would be the greatest gift to China and other countries, but China in particular, that China has ever received.
During the Biden administration, there was a vague agreement on not using AI in the nuclear weapons complex. Tell us what you envision and what conversations you've had, if any, with President Xi on that topic.
Well, relevant to AI?
Yes.
I speak to him a lot about it. I speak to him a lot, actually. I have a very good relationship with him, as you know. If you had another president, you would have had a big rare earth problem, and it turned out not to be a problem. They're purchasing tremendous amounts of the soybeans and our agricultural products now. We're getting along with them very well. No, we talk about AI quite a bit. We talk about everything quite a bit.
Let's do ahead on the world today. 88-year-old Shanta Power shows age is not just a number, as you are only as old as you feel. We'll bring you the details of the story and what she's up to. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The U.S. mission in Nigeria remains committed to supporting Nigeria's youth. And this is the assurance coming from the Consul General Rick Swart at a reunion reception for the 2025 Mandela Washington Fellows in Lagos. Fellows, being outstanding in their own work, were acknowledged and they were giving awards. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Machado reports.
Mandela Washington Fellows from all walks of life in Nigeria. The venue for the reunion, residence of the U.S. Consul General Rick Swart in Ikoyi, Lagos. Amidst the squeals of delight to see each other after a long time and the handshakes and hugs, these fellows know they're here for a reason: to meet, to network, and possibly go home with an award. The Consul General reiterates the U.S. government's commitment to youth development in Nigeria and the recognition of fellows who have distinguished themselves in driving change.
As we gather tonight, we reaffirm the U.S. mission's commitment to supporting Nigerian youth through programs, partnerships, and exchanges that expand opportunity, strengthen leadership capacity, and deepen people-to-people ties. We believe in your ambitions, and we are committed to standing with you to shape the future as you shape the future of your communities and of your country.
The pleasantries aside, the awards begin to roll out.
Please, can we put our hands together for all our award recipients?
The awardees recall their projects that have stemmed from personal experiences and a desire to make the world a better place.
For me, it started after my National Youth Service. I was looking for a job, but one day I came across persons with disabilities in front of the National Stadium, and I was genuinely just interested in what was happening. I walked up to them, learned about some of the struggles they had, and I felt that, okay, I could leave my own search and see what I can do. And that was how it started. The organization is 11 years now, and that's what we've been doing.
When you follow your passion and do work in many communities like that, you do it because you want to see change. You don't do it for applause, you don't do it for awards, you don't do it for cash, you just do it because you really are desperate and hungry to see changes in people. This started in 2011. After I lost a close friend at childbirth. I am a lawyer by training. I run my own law firm, but I also have this passion to be able to help women access quality healthcare services, which is like an NGO setting and things like that. So yes, we work in different communities across Nigeria.
When young people put their mind to do something, there are some models, there are some leaders watching, and this is a testament that they are watching and they are rewarding.
The evening wears on with more networking and enjoying of the good food and drinks as more awards are doled out. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
Congratulations to all the recipients tonight.
In South Africa's Border Management Authority, BMA officials have intercepted a group of illegal foreigners from Ethiopia and Bangladesh on arrival at the Tambo International Airport. According to BMA, 14 Ethiopians were stopped upon arrival on Thursday while traveling on an Ethiopian Airlines flight. The 5 men and 9 women were flagged even before their plane touched down. Preliminary investigations suggest the group may not have fully consented to the journey, pointing to possible coercion by syndicates exploiting vulnerable people seeking better opportunities abroad. It also says that 16 Bangladesh nationals were caught with fraudulent visas. They were spotted trying to blend in with South African passengers in the airport's arrival terminal. Well, they attempted to use lanes reserved for locals, a move that caught the attention of alert border enforcement officers. Behavioral profiling, a technique where officials observe body language, group dynamics and other subtle cues, led to their removal from the queue for secondary inspections. And during these checks, authorities discovered fraudulent visas in the Bangladeshis' possession. Their explanations for entering South Africa were inconsistent and did not align with legitimate travel purposes such as tourism or business. Well, this raised strong suspicion of human trafficking involvement, where victims are often promised jobs or safety but end up in exploitative situations. The Cambodian government spokesperson Pen Bona has rejected accusations by the Thai government that it had initiated recent border clashes, saying the country had acted only in self-defense as fighting between the two countries flares up again. Bona says that he is in Thailand to seeking to mislead national and international public opinion as a pretext to escalating military tensions. He also reiterated that Cambodia has always stood for peace and favors resolving the long-running border dispute through diplomatic mechanisms and international law, including adherence to the ceasefire agreement and the Kuala Lumpur Joint Declaration. And according to Mr. Bona, whether the conflict escalates further depends entirely on the Thai side, citing that it was Thailand who suspended the recent peace agreement and has now used what he described as disproportionate force against Cambodia.
We falsely accuse Cambodia without any basic. We aim to mislead the national and international public opinion and use them as a pretext to escalate military tension with Cambodia. You know, it is very simple and very easy to understand the reality. First, Cambodia is a smaller country comparing to Thailand in terms of population, in terms of economic size and military strength. Second, after nearly 3 decades of war, civil war and genocide, Cambodia has only enjoyed peace, full peace for the last 26 years. It is a very important moment for us to develop our country, our economy, and to improve the livelihood of our people. So that peace is very important for us, you know. So you can see everywhere in the country the slogan, "Sing to peace," you know. That means peace is considered by our leaders and our people as a very solid foundation for the development of the country.
And on the streets of Pune, an 88-year-old martial arts performer is changing lives one performance at a time, using her Alasi routine to support underprivileged children in her care. You can see Shanta Balupawa, known as Warrior RG or Warrior Grandma, balancing on a bottle and tossing sticks into the air with ease. The same skills that made her an internet sensation during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Despite her age, Power also continues to draw crowds who stop to watch her routine and leave small donations that help feed, clothe, and educate the children she looks after. She says that she trains children in discipline, traditional arts, and basic work skills. While some have secured jobs or some are married, expenses she often covers herself, even when it pushes her into debt. Donations from passers-by, also from small amounts of cash or groceries such as onions and chilies, help cover meals. It also covers school supplies and daily needs. Her performances and agility continue to surprise onlookers, something that she has perfected since the age of 8. She says that age is just a number and she will continue to perform on the streets as long as she is able. Oh, well, what an inspiring story. And with that, we end the World Today for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Wilder. Have a wonderful weekend.